The steel jungle of Manhattan, the gleaming neon lights of Times Square, the majestic Statue of Liberty, New York, this world capital, always seems to present itself in its most glamorous and dazzling form. But what if I told you that beneath this modern metropolis lie countless bizarre secret photographs? What if I told you that waiters in suits and ties once served lunch to workers from high above? What if I told you that a giant airship bearing a Nazi insignia flew over the city and then crashed? What if I told you that Central Park was once a vast slum? What if I told you that people on stilts once performed bizarre marathon dances in ballrooms? All of this isn't fiction from a sci-fi movie, but real moments captured by historical cameras. Gentle your curiosity. Now, let's journey back to a New York you've never seen before. Remember to tell me which photo shocked you the most. On May 6, 1937, a massive German airship slowly passed over New York City. Emblazoned on its tail with the Nazi insignia, it loomed over the city like a vast specter. However, no one could have known that just hours later, a tragedy would unfold that would shock the world. Later that same day, the Hindenburg, upon landing in New Jersey, burst into flames and exploded. This accident not only ended the era of commercial passenger transport by airship but also served as a lasting warning to history. In 1930, atop a towering building in New York City, two waiters in suits and ties served lunch to two workers. This incredible moment occurred during the construction of the famed Waldorf Astoria Hotel. The two workers enjoyed their lunch high above the city, while behind them, the skyline soared. This photo epitomized the spirit of New York City at that time, a spirit of adventure combined with a pursuit of ultimate elegance. In New York City, there's a world-famous landmark, the Statue of Liberty. But you might not know that when it arrived in the United States, it wasn't a complete statue, but rather disassembled into several parts. On June 17, 1885, the front of the Statue of Liberty arrived in New York from France. Its massive face, seemingly gazing out at this new land, foreshadowed its imminent symbolic enduring existence. This photograph, taken in 1882, captures an epic moment in humanity's quest to defy nature, the construction of the Manhattan Bridge. More than just a bridge, it's a symbol of human ingenuity and perseverance. In those days, without advanced machinery or sophisticated computer models, workers erected these cables and plates, piece by piece, high in the sky, with their own hands. Around 1910, at the intersection of 72nd Street and Broadway, a horse-drawn fire truck raced toward a fire scene. In that era, horses were the undisputed mainstay of urban transportation and the heroes of the fire department. Upon receiving an alarm, they pulled heavy fire trucks at top speed, racing against time to save lives. In 1944, a bizarre car accident occurred at New York's Grand Central Terminal. A car unexpectedly plummeted from the sky and landed securely on the station's roof. The car had crashed through the guardrail at the corner of 42nd Street and Vanderbilt Avenue and landed on the roof of Grand Central Terminal. This incredible scene shocked everyone at the time. On December 13, 1939, a brave man celebrated Black Friday in an incredible way. His name was Alvin "Shipwreck" Kelly. He stood upside down on a wooden plank jutting out from the 54th floor of the Channing Building. Not only was he challenging the limits of human endurance, he was also demonstrating his courage and humor in a unique way. On August 7, 1974, in New York City, an impossible miracle unfolded. French aerialist Philippe Petit, unprotected from the elements, walked a tightrope between the twin towers of the World Trade Center. This incredible journey lasted 45 minutes. He walked back and forth 8 times at an altitude of 411 meters, dancing, kneeling, and even lying on the wire. This daring feat not only stunned New York, but also became a lasting example of humanity's ability to push the boundaries. In 1937, during a special cleanup operation in New York City, then-Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia confiscated guns and slot machines and threw them into the Long Island Sound. In 1900, New York was on the rise. the street in the picture was Longacre Square at the time. It looked completely different from the Times Square of today. Soon after, it was renamed Times Square. It transformed from a quiet carriage square into the world's busiest intersection. On March 24, 1936, a window cleaner was enjoying his short break at a height of 100 meters on the Empire State Building in New York City. He opened his arms and shouted as if embracing the entire city. In 1968, a citywide garbage strike in New York City caused garbage to pile up like a mountain, almost flooding the streets. This sanitation worker, his figure, in front of the huge mountain of garbage, seemed so small, yet full of power. In Harlem, New York, there lived a legendary pair of brothers, the Collier brothers. They were notorious hoarders and recluses. In 1947, after neighbors reported a foul odor, police attempted to enter their home. However, they were shocked by what they saw. Beneath a mountain of garbage, they discovered the brothers' bodies. In April 1933, Prohibition, a 13-year-long law in the United States, was about to end. At a brewery, workers toiled day and night in preparation for this historic moment, unloading thousands of cases of beer. These bottles, more than just merchandise, were symbols of freedom, revelry, and hope. In 1933, the center of New York City, the famous Central Park, turned into a slum. During the Great Depression, countless people lost their jobs and homes. They gathered in Central Park, built a simple shanty town, and named it Hooverville. This name was a satire on the then President Herbert Hoover. In April 1945, a young woman confidently stood in New York's Times Square, wearing only high heels and a wooden barrel with the words, "I'm doing my best, are you?" The United Nations Clothing Collection was holding a publicity event for overseas war relief. With her courage and action, she called on people to donate clothing and bedding, offering their love for war victims. December 16, 1960, marked one of the most tragic air disasters in New York City's history. On that day, 2 passenger planes collided in the foggy skies above New York Harbor. The 2 planes crashed into a devastating scene in Brooklyn's Park Slope neighborhood. This sudden disaster not only claimed hundreds of lives but also plunged the entire city into grief. In 1961, a giant mailbox suddenly appeared in New York's Times Square. It wasn't just any mailbox, but a stamp stand, attracting the attention of New Yorkers and becoming a unique sight at the time. Here, people could buy stamps and mail their letters. On August 14, 1945, Victory Day in World War II, New Yorkers poured into the streets to celebrate the victory of the war. They sat on the sidewalks, surrounded by flying confetti and streamers, as if expressing their long-suppressed joy in the simplest way. In July 1921, a boxing match in New York's Times Square captivated tens of thousands of people. Approximately 10,000 men gathered outside the New York Times building, awaiting updates on the upcoming bout between boxing champion Jack Dempsey and George Carpentier. In an era without television, people relied on newspapers and telegrams for information. This boxing match was more than just a sporting event, it was a national celebration. In July 1931, an incredible accident occurred on the streets of New York. A streetcar suddenly derailed and crashed into a store, motionless. In 1940, a group of revelers were taking a break from New Year's Eve celebrations on the steps of Grand Central Station in New York City. Their sleeping positions were full of drama. In 1922, a New York City dance hall hosted a bizarre and dangerous competition, the Stilt Dance Marathon. Contestants straddled the dance floor on stilts, dancing with abandon, trying to be the last one standing. However, as the competition progressed, people kept falling. After 4 hours, the owner of the Rose Garden Ballroom was forced to call off the dangerous competition.